Hi everyone. So today's Saturday and it's quite freezing outside. I went in the morning outside in the garden and watered some plants, and it was just literally, I couldn't feel my fingers after like 5 minutes. It was super cold. So it's nice and peaceful. My husband went to get something sorted and my son is almost asleep. So it's really quiet and peaceful in the house, and I thought, why don't I share this with you? So last night I went ahead and finally organized the colors. It was quite a sort of a process where I really had to concentrate, and I had some time so I could do it, which was great. So this is a 36 plus 12 Schmincke Horadam palette. So all of these are half pans, and what it means essentially, you get 36 colors, and then you have the bottom row here, you have it empty, so you have 12 spaces for half pans to fill with the colors of your desire, which was great. So instead of going and buying 48 which already had the colors chosen for me, I decided I want to have the flexibility and pick colors that I want, keeping in mind there were new colors that came out in 2017, and I tend to do that with most of my watercolor palettes. I kind of like to change things around and put colors in that I like eventually. So, and that's what I've done. So yesterday I decided, let me arrange them according to like a rainbow order. And what I've done, so essentially this is the old swatch card that I had, and it became quite difficult to use because I then had swatched out the new colors that I added, and then I added a few more colors, and I got to the point of at this stage it was 11 new colors, and then the final one, which I have mentioned to you yesterday, arrived, and then I put it in and it was complete. So basically it was quite difficult for me to keep turning around and getting my mind kind of adjusted to these sort of colors all over the place. So what I've done is, when you buy this palette you get this swatch card with it. The paper isn't great because it's quite thin, but it was actually very useful. So what I've done is, originally the colors are numbered and titled, the ones that the 36 half pans that you get in this pan when you palette when you buy it. And so all I needed to do is just to do the swatches, and I've done that, so 3 rows, and then the 4th one was left blank for you to obviously do your own titles and numbers. So I found it quite useful, the fact that the numbers are on the swatches, because what I have then done is I have put them in the order. And the way I have done it, and I've done it with my previous watercolors, I find it quite useful to actually look into the brand and the way they organize them and do it that way. So for that you will either need one of these, which is the, basically you get it for free at any online store. I believe I order all of my art supplies from Jackson's Art, so I know for sure that they do that. They offer free brand, well, like I don't know, whichever paint. I only use watercolors, so I can speak just for that medium, but they provide you with the catalog of the full range, so you can specify when you're making an order. You can look up in their online store one of those catalogs and add it to your shopping cart, and that way they will send you one for free, so that's great. So you can basically then, according to the numbers, for example, see the order of them. So 215, they're not, so the numbers are not in order. So as you can see, you first have 206, 215, then it jumps to 223, then it jumps back to 211, 207. So the numbers ignore because they're not in the correct order. However, what you need to look at is the actual pigments. So for example, as you can see here, 215, 224, 209, right? So that's how I've done it. So these are in order, I have checked them. And then I had a new color added, which is, I'm trying to think, where was that? Number 4. So quinacridone gold hue is then 217. So I had to put it in between this color and the next one, which is the 213. So then I numbered it 1, 2, 3. This one is being number 4, and then continuing 5, 6, 7, 8. And then there is another color which is from the new colors, which is geranium red. So that would be a 9 in between the 8 and the 10, etc. So this is how I have done it. It's quite easy. Once you sort of set your mind onto this structure, you will actually find it quite easy to follow. At first it might be a little bit, you'll need some time to adjust to it, but I find this is the best way. And then I found I think about 2 colors were not in the order. They were not placed in the order. I think one of the browns and possibly one of the blues or greens. No, yeah, one of the greens and one of the browns were not in the order that they are in the catalogue. And so I decided, because I want to have everything as it is in the catalogue, then that's how I've done it. Again, you don't have to do it. If you want to be a little bit more kind of creative with it and do your own thing, and I don't know, start with pinks, go into oranges, yellows, reds, whatever, that way you can do anything you want and the way you used to. I found through trying out different styles, I found that this works the best with me. So I've done this one here exactly the same way. This is the St. Petersburg White Nights, and the paper I have used for this one, which I'm intending to use again here for Schmincke Horadam, is the Arches aquarelle rough paper. So it's 300 GSM. It's a very it's basically double-sided. It's kind of, you can see the texture, hopefully it's the same on both sides, and it's very robust. It's, as you can see, how thick every page is. Hopefully you can, the camera focuses, yeah, so you can see how thick they are. And I find that out of all the swatch cards I've done, I love the swatches on this paper most, because they seem to be super vibrant, and there's just something about it, the texture. I love to see how the color looks in those textures. So the paper is also your choice, obviously. And then what I have done is I decided, because this, as you can see, is quite sort of flimsy, so I didn't want something that moves around too much, and obviously the more paper I have, the more space I will have for the swatches. So I went ahead and I cut out, I measured out the perfect size, and as you can see, it now sits really well in there. So then I used my Fiskars 3-in-1 corner punch, and I selected the right size and done the corners, so it kind of really sits perfectly. Otherwise I would not be able to do that with sharp corners, but you can use scissors to cut out. You don't need that. I'm just telling you what I have done to make my life easier. So that is what I have done. Now today I want to do swatches, and I'm going to record them. I'm going to record the process, and this is my current Schmincke Horadam palette, and it's got, like I said, 12 of additional colors. I haven't taken any of the colors that came in the 36 half pence in this palette, so I might do that at some point, because I mentioned to you I'm hardly ever using these browns, so I might take them out and keep them in a safe place for when I need them, but I will see how I get on. The rest of the colors, except for this purple, the Magnese Violet, is probably my least favorite purple I have ever come across, which is, it's very granulating and it's very The color is quite yucky. Doesn't have oomph to it. The purples I like is sort of more of this variety, which is the quinacridone purple from the new colors. Okay, so I am now going to do the swatches. The way I'm going to do them is exactly as I've done here. So this is the layout of the let me just show you quickly, of my St. Petersburg White Nights palette, and I'm going to do the same thing for Schmincke. So as you can see, this is what it looks like. It just follows exactly what's going on in the palette. So it's got 3 rows there, and that's how it comes. And then here I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do 4 rows, but I need to figure out how big I can go with the swatches, because I have space in the middle, so I can use that space obviously to extend the swatch sizes. And that is it. I forgot to mention that if you have a dot card, that would be the easiest way to do the arrangement of the colors, because you basically have everything in front of you, and instead of flipping through the catalog for every single color, you kind of quickly find it according to the color, and as well numbers and names and things like that. So it's really easy to work it from the dot card. But that's if you already have one. I wouldn't, recommend to just go and buy a dot card just for that reason, because you have to pay money for these, and the catalogs are for free. However, I will have to say that I could, if you are starting with a watercolor brand and you are not familiar with the entire range, I would recommend to get a dot card in that case, because it's such a great way to pick the right colors that you want. You have everything available to you, and you can not only swatch them out, but you have still enough watercolor left, as you can see in those pigment drops, that you could actually go ahead and do an illustration in your sketchbook to see how it would look if you actually paint with it on the paper you like, etc, etc. So these are great, and these are great actually for a gift, as Christmas is coming up. I'm also going to do, or I'm planning, hopefully I'm going to do a gift guide for watercolor lovers, because recently I bought a little gift for a friend which is watercolor related, and she was very happy with it. So it kind of inspired me to maybe help some of you who have either spouses or friends or sisters or brothers that are into watercolors, and you want to make them a present that you know they will love and enjoy. So yeah, I think that could be quite helpful, so stay tuned for that. Okay, so to start the swatches, I first of all, as you can see how massive this palette is, once you open it up it extends to this huge concoction. And by the way, the other thing I wanted to mention as well, my palette, and a lot of complaints came through from other people to Schmincke, is the fact that the edges are not rolled in this palette, and there are identical palettes for other brands that do roll the edges, and it is so much safer. Do I have one to show you right now? Well, so I'll show you a Schmincke but a student grade, just to make you understand what I mean. So here is the edge rolled, and it's, it looks finished, it looks professional. However, although I paid a lot more money for this artist grade being Horadam, in case you don't know, Schmincke Horadam is artist grade and Schmincke Academy is the student grade. So I'm talking too much today, but I think it's the coffee kicked in. So yeah, be very careful, because once you load it with 48 half pans, this palette becomes at its heaviest, and when I tried to lift it, I basically put my thumb up and I lifted like that, putting all the pressure onto the thumb. I felt like my thumb was sliced into 2 halves. Sorry for the graphical description, but it was fine. I didn't cut myself, but it was very, very unpleasant. So yeah, someone from my viewers told me they put piece of washi here, and I might do that as well actually. So anyways, to do the swatches, and quite often when I'm using Schmincke, watercolors. I have to take out this insert because it becomes a lot easier to use, and then I can do the swatches like that. Okay, not that you really need to see this, but I thought I'll just share this quickly. I've used 2 layers of washi and have now a personalized Schmincke palette. I have 2 because it's, when you do just one, it's kind of not padded enough, but it will protect you from kind of not cutting your fingers. So yeah, I would highly advise this. It actually works quite well. Yeah. Okay, so I've done the first row. As you can see, I basically aligned it directly next to the palette so I could judge where the pans kind of are sitting, and so kind of draw it next to it, and that way it comes more or less you know, in the right sort of shape and size. And then I need to have a little bit of space for the title of the watercolors, the pigments, and so that's how I'm going to judge it roughly. So. So about an hour later, I am done with the swatches. I had to set the watercolor swatches with a heat gun, and that kind of bubbled up the paper slightly, and Arches seems to react quite a lot to a heat gun. So I'm going to put something heavy, like a few books, heavy books on top, just to kind of get it flat again. And oftentimes if you just leave the paper as it is, it kind of, as it cools down, it goes flat again. But I haven't had a case of such severe kind of warping from the heat gun before, so that's why I will, just in case, be on a safe side and put something heavy on top. So yeah, so this is my finished palette. It looks really neat. I like how the greens end up here and the neutrals are at the bottom. I have separated the brilliant purple from other watercolors, although first I thought to maybe include it somewhere in the pinks, but it is a fugitive color, it's not light fast, so that means it is going to fade with time when the sunlight hits it, because it has a fluorescent pigment in there. So that's why I decided to separate my fugitive watercolor and put it right at the end, so I remember that if I want to use it, you know, for sketchbooks and things like that, it's fine, but for a piece that I want to hang on the wall, I perhaps shouldn't do that. So this is it. I hope you enjoyed this little swatching session. I definitely love doing it, and I haven't done one in a long time, and it's super therapeutic. It's been a lovely kind of afternoon just to sit down with a cup of coffee and swatch away in peace and quiet, which will, the peace and quiet will soon end for me. So yeah, I hope you're having a lovely weekend, and see you soon on Monday with the next video being a flip through of the floral art journal of mine. So yeah, see you then.